Welcome to our podcast today. Ask Aaron and ask EJ. This is Coach EJ, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron, the source. Kind of. I got my my chair wheel rolled over my
Well, I've done that before.
over my cord, and I just pulled the power cord out. So, you know, old people, old
All
people
these
stuff.
uh, all these technical difficulties.
Man,
I
so,
love it. Love it, man.
but
Love it.
anyway, today's topic. Uh, Based on current events.
Current events. I love that.
I
Our
got I
top.
got something that I want to discuss. It may not be too long, but I thought it might be a kind of a fun topic, but yet still somewhat informative. Some of you guys might turn this off as soon as you hear it, but that's all right too. You know. But
Uh,
basically, we're gonna do two different podcasts in a sense, but they're both related. The first one's entitled "It's Not You, It's the Coach." The second one's entitled "It's Not the Coach, It's You." and and
uh,
I just want to delve into the whole parent coach athlete dynamic and relationship. Um, we've done a couple of these in the past, and it's been quite a while. I think it's been since like 2020 that
yeah.
we did one, and so I just thought it was time to kind of bring it back around. And if you want to refer to those other past podcasts, one is "Are you sending your coach the wrong message?" Communicating with the coach, and the other is the parent effect. So you guys might want to listen to those two as well. See if we've changed our positions. I haven't listened to them in years, or if they're still relevant. I think they're still relevant because we haven't changed and parents haven't changed.
That's right. That's
so,
right.
so for our first one, it's not you, it's the coach. And what I mean by that is, there in this whole thing of student athletes and youth athletes, it's a lot of us think of it as just being the athlete and the coach, but the parent plays a pretty pivotal dynamic in that. The parent can be obviously, besides the facilitator of paying for lessons, getting and all those logistics, mechanical things. The parent is also a conduit, or can be a conduit, for what the coach is trying to instill, whether it's things about discipline, whether it's things about you know being on time, whatever the case may be. But the parent can be a positive influence or a negative influence. I've encountered parents who great kids, but the parent's not really engaged in the process or is resistant to the process, and that negativity influences how the kid sees it. Just as simple as not wanting to be bothered to take your kid to practice
Right.
has an effect on how that kid now starts to view practice and can affect their growth and development. So, even something that you might think is pretty mundane or and kids are resilient, but might wash off their back, can have an effect. I mean, we've all talked about, EJ, we've talked about, the parent that hovers over the kid, uh,
Mhm.
all the time. I call, some of these parents the pack mules, where the kid walks up and he's not carrying a damn thing. But the parents got the shoe bag, the gym bag, the water bottle,
Yeah.
all those sorts of things. Uh, Even though they might seem, again, like they're trivial, those things do have a factor and influence on how your athlete kind of views this whole process, how they may be engaged in this process. and can set the tone for some, I think, some, bad habits or
Right.
some ill-conceived perceptions about their role as an athlete and how they should conduct themselves. Um, and again, we're not even just talking about, a lot of times when you talk about parents, LaShawn Wells has a book, Crazy Ass Parents, that, it's like a lot of us think about the extremes. Well, hey, I'm not that extreme coach. I'm not, or the extreme
Parent.
parent. I'm not the one yelling at my kid from the sidelines, or I'm not the one in the coach's face. No, but there's also other subtle ways that you influence this whole dynamic. And it could be as simple as tying your kid's shoes. Well, if the kid's 8 years old and you're paying for him to come to a training center, he should be able to tie his shoes.
Absolutely.
There's certain things that I don't know, that's just me, that I feel
No,
that, hey, um, some of these general housekeeping things don't have to, should start to be the responsibility of the athlete. And you give them these smaller responsibilities so that later they can take on greater responsibilities. You let them um, struggle through smaller things like trying to remember to bring all of their gear, so that later they know how to manage and struggle through much more important things.
right.
So I think it's building blocks. And sometimes when, again, we all love our kids and we want to do for them, but sometimes doing for them can also stunt their emotional maturation or whatever you want to call it, uh, along the way. And again, I'll say it as I say it almost in every video. Sports is mental, and there's an attitudinal and motivational or emotional aspect to it that plays into the physical dynamics. So anyway, that's kind of my start.
I love it. I love it. Man, great thoughts this morning. Aaron, I have to tell you this story. I think it's really funny. Um, whether people come in for tryouts, trying out for a team, or a lesson, or a group training, and the first thing I look at is I watch the player and I watch the parent. Now, is the parent walking in front of the player? Is the parent carrying the bag? This is all ages now. This is not like, hey, I'll get you your water. 18-year-old kid, I'll get you your water.
Yeah.
You can't get your own water. You can't
Right.
bring your own water bottle and fill it up and have enough extra supply of water to where "Hey, I gotta go tell my parent, hey, give me some water.
Yeah.
Like personal caddy? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
personal assistant PA?
Right.
I'm trying to understand that, and you said it. This attitude towards training, attitude towards game, event, how you prepare your athlete. It's, hey, is it you, parent, or is it the coach?
Right.
These things that can help a young athlete develop accountability, responsibility, being owning what they're doing is so important. And when I see that, like when I see that in a trial, I go, "Pff, that's a problem. That probably the kid probably shouldn't play here."
Mm.
Yeah, that's the first it's not, I mean, it doesn't like mark you off my list, but it puts a little question mark, a red question mark. Is this a parent issue down the road? Down the road. I didn't say today, down the road, because down the road is what I'm talking about here. It's not a
Yes.
short-term thing here. Is that being taught, you
Right.
know? So, I agree with what you said earlier. I think parents out there, let your kid do all this stuff. Let them come and ask you questions. Kids can't speak today, Aaron, and they can't speak because we do for them.
Yeah, well, exactly. I see a lot of parents who interrupt or jump in during a coach and athlete conversation and answer for the kid.
Right.
And And one of the things I think parents y'all also should realize, when you bring a kid to a good coach for the first time, they're also vetting you, because us as coaches, we don't want to take on an athlete in its home and who has a home dynamic that has a negative energy, that has a messy energy, that makes things or is going to disrupt the ecosystem that we are operating in.
Right.
That's just facts. And I
Yes.
don't think that parents realize that, especially parents of very talented athletes. And so they just assume, well, my kid's a great athlete, so they're going to want them. But
Right.
you're really a package deal.
Well said.
And so I want parents to understand that energy that they bring, that being rushed, that frazzled, being late, um, not following directions, uh, inserting yourself maybe when you shouldn't, not letting the athlete speak. That all speaks to a certain dynamic that a coach will say, okay, is this something that I have to deal with?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if
Absolutely.
so, do I want to, or how do I manage this so that the best interests of the athlete can be served?
Mm. Aaron, it's funny because why are parents bringing their player, athlete to you, and you have a pedigree, and why are they interrupting you? I don't get that. I could understand. No, I can't understand that. No, I can't understand that because they're bringing to you, whether I was a first year coach or a 30-year coach,
Right.
you're bringing your athlete there because you're trying to make them better. Why not just sit down in the chair? Or better than that, I wish parents would just drop their kid off and sit in the car and then the last 2 minutes come to the lesson and grab their kid and say, "Hey, thanks, coach, appreciate it."
Yeah.
Because there's that relationship there
Right. And,
that you're trying to teach, right? We're trying to teach
and
this relationship thing between the athlete and this
yeah.
our the coach, us. And it doesn't happen when parents are hovering over their kid and the
Yeah.
kid goes and he does a drill and he goes gets his water and then the parent walks over and says, "Hey, did you do this right? Did you
I,
do
I,
that?"
I call that sidebars. just
Sidebar,
the
I
other
like
night,
that.
just the other night, I had to tell a parent, I told the kid and the parents, I said, look, come on, get your water, come on back. You can have your sidebars later. You know,
I'm
it's
gonna
like
use
we got to
that.
keep this thing moving. Um, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. But
No,
yeah,
man, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. I just think that when an athlete comes to me, it's their time and their space,
Right.
and so that's what I try and create for them. It's not necessarily to exclude the parent or hide anything from the parent, but I want the athlete to have a space that's totally theirs,
Right. It's
where they
theirs.
have where they have control, where they have some latitude to be who they are, to grow, to explore who they are as athletes, and not have that contaminated by a comment from the parent or a
Mm,
look from the parent, whether it's a look of approval or a look of, like, what did you do that for? You know what I'm saying? A negative one.
yeah.
So, that's really what I'm trying to foster. It's not trying to hide anything. It's not trying to separate you from your kid, but you also parents need to understand is that coach and that athlete have to also develop their own relationship outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not to hide anything from you. It's
Right.
not to teach them something contrary to maybe what you think, but for the transfer of communication to be at its optimal, there has to be a relationship between the athlete and the coach,
Right.
and the parent can't be part of that conduit. And so, that's what I try and foster in my gym, and that's what I kind of don't have a whole lot of latitude if I can't do that.
And you shouldn't. I mean, with your background, your pedigree, you shouldn't. Now, look, you're the expert. And I tell parents this all the time. You bring your kid to me because you believe, or I think you believe, that I could help them.
Yeah,
Why would you want to cloud that by using a dialogue or have a conversation that doesn't allow that to grow and foster and to improve? And and I tell parents, you got to let go. You're going to professionals. Let go and allow that relationship, but also that personal development in that athlete to happen.
yeah,
And I think that's the key right there, that personal development of responsibility, accountability of what they're doing, owning what they're trying to focus on. They need to have that. That's called maturing, maturation, growing up,
yeah.
being a young adult, being a young teenager. All of that is so important in their personal development as a person. And when parents, you don't allow them to do that, your child does not grow like you would like them to grow because you're always in it when you should be out of it.
Great point. Great way to end that part of it. Um, you know, just to put a pin in it, I would just say, parents, trust the process.
Mm.
Trust the process.
Well said. Well
So that
said.
was part one. It's
Part
not the
one.
coach, it's you.
Right.
Now, part two of our double feature is it's not you, it's the coach. And I'll just open up with, hey, coaches are people too. They've got personalities, good, bad. They have good days, they have bad days, and and that's just who we are as humans, human
Right.
beings. Um, but there are things that you should be looking for. Okay. First, you should be vetting the coach. Just don't go to a coach because they're good or just because they're popular. Try and find out if the values that the coaches have in their program have are aligned with yours. Find out if the coaching style that that coach uses and has is along the lines of how you want your kid to be communicated to. Okay? And the reason why I say that, as someone who has a coaching style that's semi-militaristic, authoritarian, or can be construed as such,
Right.
I think people should know how I coach,
Right.
because it may offend the delicacies of some people, and they may come in and clutch their pearls because I tease a kid or I'm short and I'm direct, but there's nothing more behind that other than that's my system and way of communicating the information I'm trying to impart. And there's a method behind the madness. Okay. But
Right.
in today's society, all of a sudden, I hear the term, you sound aggressive.
You're aggressive. You're kind of aggressive with your tone.
Yeah. And so I kind of laugh to myself nowadays and say, hey, I give them the Popeye line. I am who I am.
I am when I am.
And but you should know that about coaches going in,
Right.
because that just may not be your flavor. That may not be how you want your kid, communicated with, approached. Your kid may not be able to handle that sort of thing. There are some coaches who are yellers. There are some coaches who are, whisperers, and there's some who are in between. When you're looking for a coach or a trainer, try and find that out so that way, if you are sensitive to that, then you know that, hey, this is the person for me. This is not the person for me, regardless of their bona fides. Um,
Right.
and you may find that, hey, a lot of times I get, you know what, I came to you because of your coaching style. My kid needs this.
Right.
He doesn't get this enough at home. So there's, it's a flip side to it. And one isn't bad or the other. It's just that sometimes, you have to do a little bit more research because it can be the coach. So anyway, that's my opening salvo.
Well, I like that because, I think a lot of times, I ask my students, and I think you got to vet the coach. I ask every new player that comes and sees me, I said, what do you know about me? What do you know about my coaching style? What do you know about my playing career? What do you know about my coaching career? What have I done lately? What do I do? Why are you here? I ask them, why are you here? And then the player goes, it kind of gives me that squirrel look.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I go, so who vetted here? You, your parent? And parent goes, well, I kind of heard good things.
Yeah.
Whoa, 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 slow down here.
Yeah.
So you're gonna let me coach your kid? You don't really know who I am as a person? Oh, come on. You know, I started to say, go to our website. Here's a bio on me. This is what I've done because a lot of people aren't doing that. They just hearsay. I think that hearsay thing, like
Yeah.
I heard this in the stands. He's a
Oh
really
yeah.
good
Yeah.
coach. He's really good at
Yeah.
this and he does that. Oh, I'll go to him.
Yeah.
And I think parents, that's a wrong way to go about this. You've got to find out more about who's influencing your athlete.
Right.
You need to, because that relationship is going to be more than in sport. It's going to be about this mental thing that I always tell people.
Yep.
We're going to teach the mental side of the game. There's a physical part, but the mental part weighs way more than the physical part
Hmm.
at, for me at least teaching and
Yeah.
knowing what I know about the mental side and being an ex-athlete and being a coach and watch athletes, thousands and thousands of athletes play and watch them interact with each other, that the mental side is huge. And if you don't vet the coach, understand that the coach prepared enough
Hmm.
to teach my athlete all these positive things of this the ups, downs, and everything, and being honest with them, then you're doing a disservice to your athlete if you're not doing that.
Right.
That kind of
Right.
there's my 2 cents
Yeah.
on
And,
that part of that.
and that's the first step is vetting. The
Right.
second step is monitor.
Right.
Monitor. Come in occasionally and watch a session. Talk with the coach briefly about how your kid's doing. Talk to your kid, but have the conversation with both. Don't make the mistake of just having the conversation with the kid. Because you remember, these are young adults. They can't always articulate what's going on properly. So you don't
Right.
want to get the wrong impression because your kid misinterprets something, And if you need clarification, don't, stew on it. Go to the coach and have clarification. And have that conversation in front of the kid.
Right. That
I'm
yes,
I'm
sir.
real big on, hey, all
Yes.
parties involved are having this conversation. I don't care if your kid is 8 years old or 18 years old. This way we're all on the same page. Everyone starts at the same point. Everyone understands things. That way nothing's lost in translation.
Absolutely.
Um, so monitoring, you know, getting an understanding and like I said, getting clarification if you need that. Um, because you want to be able to cut anything that might be toxic
Yes,
before
sir.
it gets to become a real issue, a real problem.
Yeah.
Because again, I'll say it all the time. There's a lot of things I do in my gym that are psychological that have nothing to do with the training, but I think it's important in building the athlete up in their ultimate development. So,
Mm.
one thing, when your kid comes to my gym, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle physically,
Oh, wow.
they may struggle emotionally, and they're going to struggle mentally. And it'll always be something that's age appropriate for them.
Yeah.
Here's an easy example. We use carabiners
Right.
to clip our belts onto certain pieces of equipment.
Right.
I'll get new kids come in and I'll show them how to use a carabiner. And most of the time it goes, they forget. And so I'll have a new kid who can't open a carabiner. He's just,
He can't do it.
no, just,
Yeah.
and the parent will want to come over or the parent will get up. And I'm like, no, let them struggle with that a little bit.
Oh,
Let them figure it out. There's no harm or foul in this. Okay, it takes a few more minutes, but I want him or her to go through those mechanics because if I show them or if I do that for them, the imprint isn't as concrete than if they do it themselves. And if the first time they do it, that's great. If they have to struggle and they have to figure it out, that's an even bigger impression. And if they do it and they feel a little anxiety because I'm standing there, that's an even better lesson in my eyes because now they're learning to perform under pressure. Do you?
attention to detail. It's simple. Allow your athletes to struggle. I love that you said that because I think I really believe this is that parents aren't prepared for their athletes to
Right,
struggle in all of these events we do, practice, personal training, games. They think everything is going to be like really good for them.
right. And they jump to, oh, that coach is an asshole. He made my kid da da da, or my kid was embarrassed, or
Right.
no, it's for a good coach, a coach who has years in, it's part of the process.
Part of the process. It really is. And you know what? That's well said.
And yeah, you can use the term mind games, but it's a good coach will use that as a learning and growing tool.
Mm.
But again, nowadays society, oh, my kid struggled, that coach is an asshole. But sometimes the coach is an asshole.
He
So
can be if he's not
there's
giving.
levels
Yeah,
of that. And
yeah,
that's why you monitor.
right. You have
And
to
that's
monitor.
why you discuss with your athlete. Maybe ask them, well, how did you feel in that moment? And now here's your opportunity to explain what really went on in a quiet, calm environment so that that now gets imprinted in the mind.
It's funny, isn't it, that people don't trust the process, Aaron. That's the process. They use the word, oh, you got to trust the process, but they're the first people jumping in and going, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why'd you do that to my kid? And I saw trust the process, people.
Yeah.
It's very simple. There are peaks and valleys. How stable are you during the peaks and valleys?
And this is all going to be based on your own value system.
Right.
Again, it can be the coach, it can be the philosophy of the coach, it can be the demeanor of the coach. All of those things have to align with you guys' personal values.
Right.
And if it doesn't, then you guys have to make another decision. Hey, do we stay with this guy? Do we leave this guy? Um, I guess what's another part of it's not you, it's the coach. I guess after vetting, monitoring, and we've kind of already talked about this, um, develop your own relationship with the coach so
Mm,
that you get to know the coach. Okay. You may get to know him and know that, hey, I don't really like this guy. you know? And then you have to decide, okay, well, as long as there's no harm coming to my athlete, I don't have to like this guy.
right,
Okay. But if I get to know the coach and I know that there may be some harm, then that's when you know, hey, we need to pull the ripcord and get the hell out of here.
right.
So it doesn't have to be where you're pals with the coach, but talk to them. And it doesn't always have to be specifically about how well is my kid doing, you know. You know, so find a way that may be comfortable to you and get to know the coach a little bit more because now you have an end to maybe getting a better understanding of the why behind what might be perceived his madness.
Isn't that the truth?
you
Right?
know
Yeah.
um, but again, there are bad coaches out there, not
Yeah,
to
there
say not.
are.
And also there coaches have bad moments,
We
and you
all do.
have to understand that too.
It's
They're
part of
they're
the
we're
business.
all human.
Yes.
Um, I had a situation where I had referred an athlete to a coach, and things went left, and I'd never seen this, attitude or you
Mhm.
know come demonstrated by this person before. And I had this coach as a client and known him as a coach, and I referred someone over and they had a bad experience. The first few went well, but then all of a sudden they had a bad experience. And you know all I can say is, again, sometimes this is not what I know as a regular way of operating from this individual.
Right, right.
This is what I've always seen. And again, people show you what they want you to see. So I get it.
Yeah.
But maybe this isn't a bad coach, but it was just a bad moment.
Yeah,
And
that happens. And you're right, Aaron. We're human. Coaches are humans, and you don't know what happened in their day and stuff like that. But if it continually happens,
right.
that's a bad coach.
Yeah. But if you vet a coach and you know their value system,
Shouldn't happen.
you should see no, you should can then
Right,
see that as a bad moment.
right.
Now, if there are a pattern of bad moments, well, that's something else.
Yeah,
Again,
different story.
it's the coach. Maybe something is going on with the coach that they're just not handling well and is bleeding over into, you know, their professional life.
Right.
So that would be the third and final prong, to it. Is kind of, get to know the coach. You don't have to go out and have a beer, but you know, get to know the coach. And some coaches are verbose, they talk a lot, and some coaches aren't. And you have to understand that as well. Again, we're dealing with personalities. I guess that's all I've got.
Hey, that's what we have today on It's Not You, It's the Coach, or It's Not the Coach, it's you. Part one and part two, Aaron. What can we say? We hit
Hey,
it.
you got it. We don't do many of these double features,
That's
so
right. Hey, you gotta like that movie, man. You gotta like those doubles. You gotta like those doubles. With that said, hey, thanks for joining us today on our podcast. Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. Hey, this is Coach EJ, the brand.
and it's Coach Aaron the Source. We'll see you.